Alright, so we are going to be on the play against Hogaak Depths, which has been all the rage lately, especially Hogaak with the banning recently, and what was it, Modern or Standard. I don't play any other formats, but that, and it's been pretty popular in Legacy as well, and I know there's been wanting to see some commentary and games against it, so you will certainly see a matchup against a deck that plays it. I can't guarantee that there will be any guest appearances. You will just have to see. Now, I didn't know who I was playing against. Ironically enough, this isn't the worst hand against Hogaak Depths, despite the fact that I only have one land. However, there's only one land, and if we don't draw an island, we are in very big trouble, so we threw this one back. Now, this is actually exactly what the doctor ordered. Kind of moving it around by curve here. So we do have mana. We have swords. We also have Snapcaster, draw land to help with plow. We have True-Name in case we want to just, race. And of course we have Force of Will. We can pitch any of these. So here the oddball out is going to easily be Council's Judgment. It's just going to be the most difficult to cast. So regardless of who I was playing against, I didn't know who I was playing against. It's probably going to be this every time, just in this specific scenario. And I believe our opponent mulliganed to 6 as well. Okay, so let's play Polluted Delta, do nothing, and pass the turn. Awesome, we have a way to deal with that. Sure. Alright, here, very important. I know it seems like it's not a big deal, but I have seen a lot of times where people will actually play Arid Mesa, crack it, and then plow it. I don't like doing that. The longer the games go, the more important these get. Plus, I know I just need a plains, so I can get that right here. This is going to be more powerful with brainstorms and ponders and so on and so forth. Or maybe I want to get a Tundra. Maybe I want to get a Volcanic Island. So here's going to be a plains, a plow, and a pass the turn. Or not. Okay then. So I thought that was interesting. So seeing this is going to be gone, this kind of gave me a hint that they have probably half the combo in their hand and they just need to draw out lands to do it. So I actually chose to Force of Will this because, that's 2 cards, this is 2 cards. So here I'm actually getting rid of the Snapcaster because we are so low on cards that next turn I can actually play True-Name and just start beating them up with it. So that was the choice there. That's perfect because they're not doing much this turn. Alright, now, very important, don't play the plains here because then you can't play True-Name. So Polluted Delta is going to get an island. Arid Mesa, now, once again, this is kind of important. I believe this deck plays Wasteland. We can find out later. They probably do. And if they are going to play Wasteland, this land is obviously going to be the only one they can waste. So instead of getting a Tundra, I didn't want to do that just because even though I would have blue either way, I figured that I might as well get a Volcanic here, so if they do waste it, I can later get a Tundra if needed. Because either way, I'm going to have, blue, white, or blue, or white, blue, because I have a plains in my hand. So this is like the crappier land. So if that's also what I like about Arid Mesa is that many times you can always just kind of throw this, if you want to get an island instead of a Tundra. That is very helpful sometimes. And this makes me laugh every single time. I mean, how many times have you seen someone like Thoughtseize or Cabal Therapy me, and then this is what I have in my hand? Ironically enough, this is how my hand played out, but if the game had gone longer, it probably still would have been that way, because if you've watched any of my videos, you know I like keeping lands in my hand, especially against this card, and especially to make my brainstorms better. How about lose 1 card, lose 2 life? Okay, Thespian stage. They got nothing else going on. Oh my goodness, that's a good draw. Let's attack first. I don't mind if I do. Let's play our plains. Let's play Jace, and let's talk shop here. So, a lot of people here love brainstorming. I don't. First of all, the reasoning behind that is that I have control of the board. This thing can't even attack, can't even block, can't even breathe on me wrong. It's literally just, doing nothing. I guess gassing up for Hogaak. If they draw it, I'm not worried about that. Then I could obviously brainstorm. So here I want to have control of the top of their deck and control of the board. So by doing that, let's Fate Seal. Let's see what they got. I am certainly glad I did. My goodness. Let's put that on the bottom. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. I am very aggressive when it comes to Fate Seals. That's perfectly fine. Let's see what they got in the yard. Oops, gotta hit play once more. Cabal Therapy, another Stitchers, and a Wayfinder. Okay, sure. And ironically enough, once again, I always talk about this with playing out cards, because before I was wondering, like, they probably have crap in their hand, they haven't been doing much, but now that they play this out, I understand that if they get a Dark Depths, it's going to like help them activate it, I believe, so that would be 1, 2, yes, that would be a reason for it, but even still, now I have perfect information. When it comes to Fate Seal and the opponent has 0 cards in their hand, it makes it much more difficult, to obviously make decisions, but I'd like to thank opponent for that. I guess they were hedging on getting a Dark Depths as opposed to me not having perfect information, but I like that trade. Okay, once again, let's Fate Seal first. I want to see what's on top. They can certainly have that. Now let's attack and not play our land. Once again, I don't need this. I don't need to bluff a Force of Will. I know it's on top of their deck. Remember, we are playing against discard. Doesn't matter if they attack this. It's going down 1. No big deal. Well, talk about a kamikaze, and I do understand this can build up Hogaak, but it's just too funny when this happens. Like, I've watched a lot of Magic online. I don't think people hold lands in their hand as aggressively as I do. Maybe it's just, I don't know, a pet peeve, because I see so many people doing it. I'm like, why don't you just hold on to that? It's going to be more difficult for them to know what you're doing when they don't know what cards are in your hand. Anyway, that's a great draw. Let's Fate Seal again. All right, now here's an interesting one. It might seem like an easy decision at first, but keep in mind I haven't attacked yet, so when I do attack them, they're going to go to 10. That means in 4 turns, they're going to be dead, assuming True-Name attacks every single turn. But if they play this, let's say, I attack them to 10, they do this, they take this, it's going to trade, they're going to lose 2 life, they're going to be at 8, then it's going to be a 3-turn clock. Considering that and the fact that they bricked on both of their discards recently, they're probably not going to be firing this off anytime soon, especially for the fact that they know I keep crap in my hand, and for the fact that they're going to lose life, so I let them keep that all day long. Despite the fact they know this, I'm still not playing it yet. I would like to get a few more cards in my hand, maybe 1 more, maybe 2 more, but like if they cast that and take my counterspell, obviously you let them take it so they lose life, so I don't think they're going to be playing that anytime soon. And despite the fact that I know it happens, that was my thought pattern when I was playing this game. So let's Fate Seal again. Okay, not the worst in the world, but obviously this isn't going to kill me anytime soon. When I Fate Seal, they can shuffle, so we'll let them have it. Yep. Not a bad draw. Let's Fate Seal. Now this was an interesting one. Obviously I know if I let them have that, I could probably counter it because I assume they're not going to be. But aside from that, they're not going to be firing off their Thoughtseize first just to take my counterspell. But I think I put this on the bottom. This was something I would have to think about a lot longer, because usually in these parts of the games, you want to know that you can cover the card they have in their hand and the card they would be playing. So here, I actually put it on the bottom. I don't think it would matter if I put it on top. They'd probably crack this. However, that wouldn't be bad at all because they would go to 6. And seeing I haven't attacked yet, that means they would go to 3, and then I could counter whatever they play, assuming they don't play a Thoughtseize. So I think the correct play here is keeping it on top. If they want to play it, I'll counter it. And then, of course, if they want to fetch, they're going to be at 3 after I attack. So the correct play seems like it would be keep this on top, but I put it on the bottom. And that's simply because I'm not that familiar. I'm familiar with their deck, but not like all the cards they play. Like if I was playing against Death and Taxes, I know like they have this that can hurt me. They have this, they have this, they have this. I do believe I played the Polluted Delta there. Now I can bluff a Force of Will if I want to. Didn't play Stoneforge. And they just kind of did whatever. Okay, so that was a very interesting game. That came down to like the first, I think, Force of Willing. That crop rotation was a very big deal because that set them behind. It was kind of a 2-for-2 exchange. They had less mana, and I had the True-Name in my hand, which meant, I can go all in on stopping this, and it's now they pretty much have to stop True-Name. Then I drew Jace, which is always nice, considering they can't do much with this. But either way, let's move to the sideboarding. All right, so let's move these bad boys over here. Let's talk about what we're bringing in. So Path to Exile is awesome. I highly recommend this card. I like it better than, what's the word? 1 plains, 1 white, Celestial Purge. I just bring this against so many matchups. Any Delver deck, depths, plus they're not getting any life is nice. Maverick, Death and Taxes, Goblins, whatever else uses a lot of creatures. It's just a very nice card, and them getting a land isn't the worst in the way. Heck, I'll play this and Back to Basics at the same time. It's not like the interaction comes up a lot. It's just nice to have that fifth plow, so to speak, but something to keep in mind. Great card. Spell Snare comes in. It hits that Wayward Finder. It hits Vampire Hexmage, and I believe there's a few others. Was it Sylvan Scrying, which costs 2, where they can get a land? Like I said, not all that familiar with the deck, but I know most of the cards, and I do know that Spell Snare is a great target. So Surgical, I do like getting, once you get rid of the Dark Depths, it's very hard for them to win. They have to like beat you down with obviously Hogaak and some other stuff. But that I did like bringing in 1. 2 might be a little bit excessive, but I don't mind having 1. It's not that bad. I like the Disenchant package, as in 2 of them. They do play some, I don't know, see, once again, I don't know if they play Choke. Usually a lot of green decks do, but even so, it can get rid of the Moxes, Sylvan Library, if they play that, and any other type of crap they want to have. Rest in Peace is going to be for Hogaak. They're going to have trouble casting that. And that was pretty much it. So there's 6 cards. We're taking out Volk because we're not playing... what's it called? Blast. So that's going to be an easy one. Then we have Narset, not the most powerful card. And then we have 3 cards. So here what I actually decided to do, I actually took out 1 Pierce. On the play, I'd probably bring it back in just because I can, first turn Allen Pierce something if I want to. And then here it's pretty much going to be a combination of what do I want for these cards. I do like Council's Judgment. I love removal. In fact, I keep this card in against a ton of decks. It's very rare that I bring it out. Like, say, against Reanimator, maybe I'll bring out 1. Show and Tell, maybe I'll bring out 1. I still like the fact that I can remove stuff with it. I think against the deck that I know I bring out 2 is going to be Storm. But aside from that, the rest of my deck looks very good here. Back to Basics can be great, can be iffy. Really depends on the, what happens in the game, obviously. But in this specific scenario, what I did is 1 Jace and 1 Back to Basics. Jace can suck against Vampire Hexmage. It did do a lot of work, but I have been taking out Jaces a lot lately, so I want to at least keep in 1 for most matchups now, aside from like Delver and stuff like that. But it did do very well last game. I'm not sure if it's always going to be that way, but this is pretty much what I chose to do with the last 2 remaining cards. If you wanted to take out Jace, you could pretty much just use that as well. That would probably be the better way to do it. So keep that in mind. That's how I sideboarded. I actually did keep in 1 Jace, so I'll keep it like this. But you can, it's really up to you and your play style. Let's move on to game number 2 now. All right, I really like my hand, except I have no lands. This is going to be an easy mulligan once again. So both games we mulligan. At least we're on the draw now, so it's not going to be as painful, which is nice. This one I certainly love. We got our solo Spell Pierce, which is cool, which isn't too bad. But either way, 2 lands, plus we have Brainstorm, we have an island and a fetch land. Snapcaster is not bad, Spell Snare is not bad, Spell Snare is awesome pretty much all game, and Nature's Chant in case they have something I want to get rid of. This leaves me with a ton of options, so the oddball out in this scenario, despite the fact that if I get like another land, I can do Snapcaster one of these, I decided to get rid of Snapcaster, so that was the oddball out. Let's get rid of Snap. Now I pretty much have a way to combat anything except for a very fast Dark Depths, but I still have Brainstorm where I can, I thought they were going to skip their main phase there, but that's fine. That's what I love to see. They're not doing any discard. So now I can protect against discard. I can Brainstorm. Got another one. It's always nice to see. Here I'd like to use a Spell Pierce, a Spell Snare. That way next turn I can play Flooded Strand and pass just to sculpt my hand better. Sure. Okay, now this certainly isn't my favorite Spell Snare target in the world. I thought about it, I'm like, do I just want to let that happen? But it can be, just obviously getting a land, which can help them out, assuming, if they had Dark Depths or whatever. So I did choose to Spell Snare this. They're not playing Vampire Hexmage anytime soon unless they get a Urborg, so pretty simple answer there. Sure, card disadvantage. Hey, speaking of Urborg, maybe they were going to play it. Either way, I like the way that went. Okay, well, now we have 2 of these, but now I was thinking, first I'm going to play my Flooded Strand. There's the possibility that I could just get rid of this, but I don't like doing that because having this set up with a Brainstorm is extremely powerful, and I usually want to play my cards last just so I have the most amount of information. So while that was a possibility to disenchant the Mox Diamond, I did not go with it. I mean, if I want to do that, I could always do it at the end of the turn, but, oh, well, there's that. Okay, so I'm glad I didn't. Well, they wouldn't be able to, let's see, they did this and then one, yeah, so they wouldn't be able to cast that anyway. So let's go to this. Okay. Now here's where you can either win or lose when it comes to Brainstorm. So let's look at all the cards that are going to be helpful or we might need. Now, Jace is just way the hell away from being cast. We don't want that. Okay, so that's going to go on top. And aside from that, a lot of people here might get rid of Spell Pierce. I really like Spell Pierce simply because when they cast this, they're going to be losing a land. 2 lands, Spell Pierce is going to be much more powerful. Brainstorm is great, and we have 2 Disenchants, so that's going to be the oddball out. So it's going to be a Jace and one of the Disenchants, you know, one of the chants, whatever you want to call it. So that, let's fetch. We're going to get Island. So here, we're a little desperate getting there. So I want to Brainstorm end the turn because I want to use all my mana. And we do have a fetched land, so there's only going to be 1 card we're going to be drawing, so it's not the worst Brainstorm in the world. And that's perfect. So at this point, seeing we're going to be drawing our cards, it doesn't matter here as long as you put the card you don't want on top. So it's going to be Batterskull. It doesn't matter what the other card is because I'm going to be drawing it. Probably Councils, sure. And now let's look at our options because we have a lot of them. So let's see. They have this, and then they have tap that, and then 1, 2. So they can do the combo, right? I'm not 1. That's 3 mana, yes. So either way, can't use this. There's nothing to plow at the moment. If I play this, I'm going to lose. If I disenchant this, they do that in response and I lose, and I can't Spell Pierce anything at the moment. So we say go. Or pass. Or do whatever you want. Let's move this down this way. There we go. Doing something? Okay. Crop rotation. Now, I actually thought about spell piercing this, but I didn't want to. So what, they pay 2 here, and then they can just do whatever they need to next turn. I thought that was interesting. So they ended up getting, I'm like, what the hell are they going to get here? They can't get step, because if they get step, then I can just plow it next turn. So I was cool with letting that happen. So they got an Urborg. There we go. I got it. So now they're going to do their thing. Sure. And I'm guessing they did that simply because they probably have, you know, black cards in their hand, is my assumption. Otherwise, they could have just gone for the combo, but that's fine. Now, this part's very important. This is why I like keeping in Spell Pierce. You know, obviously they have discards. So I could do this right now, which means, and what they can do is crop rotation, obviously, if they have that. But I figured I would just do it on their turn because I'm going to do it before their draw. So it's better off just doing it on their turn. So if they go for a step, I can pierce it. So actually put a stop on my opponent's turn for upkeep. I did fetch here. Probably should have just waited, but it doesn't make a difference at this point. Okay, so now let's plow. And they're walking right into my trap. And that's exactly why I kept this card. Now they're going to be at a huge disadvantage. We are certainly spell piercing that. You gain your 20 life. I have a disenchant. You have a Mox Diamond. You lost a ton of card advantage from 2 crop rotations and a Mox Diamond. Let's see what you got. Nothing. Oh my goodness. Let's disenchant that. Let's do it on their upkeep. Just in case, you know. Yep. That's gone too. Ooh, nice Wasteland. Every time I'm playing against Wastelands, I have to say that. Sure. This time I'll actually play that. Let's play back to basics. So now if they want to play something, they're going to have to kamikaze their lands. I would rather play back to basics there than hold up, you know, Force of Will, pitching that. You know, if they draw a discard, then that plan's going to kind of go south. So now they're going to be in a little bit trouble. Obviously, Hogaak can do it for them, but I have a answer for that. And nothing going on. Ouch! Oh my goodness! It's funny, I drew my solo Spell Pierce, I drew my solo Surgical, we saw the solo Jace, but here, this is why I like bringing this in. If you want to bring 2 in, I guess you could. Keep in mind it's card disadvantage unless they have one in their hand and you're nabbing it, but here what I want to do is actually put a stop on their draw on opponent's turn, so if they draw one, I can actually get it out of their hand. Okay, so now, Surgical. Let's get rid of Dark Depths. And yeah, that was my guess why they got an Urborg, because they had this, so they would actually be able to play it. But let's see what else they had in their, let's see what's going on here in their library. So they probably brought in Needle. I guess that could be a target for Disenchant. So 3 Gax, Claimer, Crop, Stitchers, Stage, Thoughtseize, Hex Mage, Finder. And they had no Sylvan Safekeeper, I believe is that card. Overall, this matchup isn't that bad, but Safekeeper can make this match extremely difficult. My goodness, I had like 3 or 4. I had like 3 plows, and I had like Snapcaster to use another one. It's almost impossible to deal with unless you get a Council's Judgment. But let's remove all those, and they had seen enough. So that was pretty much it. This specific deck list right here is a really good matchup because they don't have that damn card I just talked about, where you sacrifice the land and it gets hexproof. But all in all, I believe that game was won based upon that Brainstorm. Like, keeping that Spell Pierce was really big. I know a lot of people might not even bring that in. I can always find a use for Spell Pierces, ironically enough, even when games go later against other decks. But that game was kind of far from over. I mean, they could have gotten a Hogaak. Who knows what else I had in my hand. They could have drawn a Thoughtseize. They could have gotten rid of Council's Judgment, played Hogaak. But they weren't very happy the way that turned out, because that was I pretty much had answers for everything they did and allowed them to use them like their own answers at times that were not crucial to them, especially when it comes to getting 2 for 1. Crop rotation, Mox Diamond, and then obviously, disenchanting that, swordsing that, surgicaling that, and then back to basics. So whatever lands they did draw, they were going to be in some trouble. But either way, if I was playing that game, I wouldn't have quit. But hey, what can I say? That's another one for the good guys, for the Stonebladers. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.